And finally, here it is, the second part of my Gaige playthrough. Last time I forgot to mention that I'm playing with mods, specifically Borderlands 2 Reborn. But it doesn't really matter, since it mostly reworks UVHM and only changes the slug element for the first two difficulties. And I'm also going to use the badass rank only in the UVHM playthrough. I'll just spoil that the mod also makes the game a bit easier because of some buffs to the Vault Hunter skill trees, but it doesn't let me face roll on my keyboard to win. To prove that, I've decided to do a bunch of side quests to see how difficult it would actually be. And I can confirm that slug and enemy regen completely ruins Borderlands to UVHM. Besides that, this midget almost downed me, even if I'm bug abusing. Bosses for now aren't extremely hard, even if they're pretty strong. On the other hand, normal enemies are surprisingly dangerous and can easily knock you down. If I have to be honest, True Vault Hunter mode is a very interesting difficulty. It's the intermediate difficulty of the game, obviously, and it's still pretty dangerous. You can get knocked out easily if you're not paying attention, but it's not too dangerous yet. And that's because of the existence of third difficulty. And just thinking about nowadays games difficulty makes me kind of disappointed. Difficulty sliders exist for a reason, and the hardest difficulty is not always fun to play. This is one of the reasons why I still embrace older titles. Besides difficulty, there are a lot of gameplay approaches, for example, video guns in Borderlands 2. Anyway, while making my way into the city after avenging Rice once again, I was instantly sent on a bunch of missions, like clearing the camps of the monsters terrorizing the city, clearing the bandit outpost near the city. One life are going to be so hard. No, an upgrade. With a terrible sight. Never mind, an actual upgrade this time. And saving a prisoner while relentlessly murdering everybody else in this prison. Just because he's the crucial leader of the resistance, apparently. It will better be worth it, or all of this work will be in vain. Wow, that pistol is terrible. After saving the prisoner and helping him get rid of the loader's wave, he invited me back to the city because he needs someone strong enough for his special mission, killing the ninja turtles because they stole his pizza, and experimenting with a military eye created by other prisoners in the prison he was imprisoned, like what the f, as a way to combat the army robots, which ended up being a music station. Fast forward a bunch of days. After having enough money to move outside the city, I went to one of his old friends who could actually help me to stop the enemy invasion of the planet. But he had this crazy request. He needed help to eliminate mutant enemies that got slagged by an iridium mine not far from here. Which, nah, it's not the worst thing I've ever done. These people treat each other well. They live in a nice place. I wasn't actually expecting it. Look at this cute little house, the faceless bandit mascot. A fancy tea party with nothing wrong, all the free shooting you can have on the bandits right outside the cave. You don't live far from the nearest outpost or city. How can you refuse to move on Pandora? Alright, back to saving the world, one train at a time. Destroying this convoy was a good move, less resources for the enemies, even if we could have stolen them for ourselves, but it's not my problem. But for the resistance, it is a problem, so I had to find a stash of weapons hidden in a graveyard for whatever reason. Yet, in order to retrieve them, I had to participate in a standoff. At least I got something for myself as well, I'm not gonna complain. Heh, funny shotgun. This time at least it worked as intended, I have PTSD from that. And now it's time for the first fight against a robot army. After spending almost 20 minutes to roll a weapon shop in order to find a bunch of decent corrosive weapons, it's time to begin. Even if I'm still lacking in damage, I have to wait until my Anarchy starts to kick in, which I'm not abusing yet. You see, the mod reworks Anarchy stacks in order to be a bit less powerful than the vanilla version. First of all, now Anarchy requires 5 skill points to max the ability, and the stacks are reduced to 100 against the 151 in the vanilla version. And even if the base stats are higher, going from 1.75 to 2.50 of damage boost, you'll earn way less stacks, putting a bigger limit on the Anarchy damage output you can actually have. It's also true that you have some extra damage across the other skills, but that's enough to make viable non-Anarchy builds, so it's fine enough for me. Getting back to the main track, this assault was kind of decent. The only thing that I've always disliked is that all the enemies, if they're in range of the beacon, will prioritize it. But you can abuse it in order to avoid enemy focus. It can actually be a good strategy. And it's in that moment that I remember that we have an annoying Hyperion robot that can help us. And Mordecai found some intel on Hyperion robots upgrades. I instantly went to consult him for a secret operation, which basically consisted in taking down a giant bird with a stylish explosion. The upgrade actually worked, and we were able to assault the main fortress even if it started flying for some reason. That trap took care of it, and this is the best robot ever. But thanks to the information it was carrying, we managed to find where Jack was hiding. Even if he had like 27 line of defenses, and it took me way too much time to go through all of that, not talking about the fact that this guy lasted less than a minute. But thankfully it was just one of his clones. I will now have my real boss fight against the real one. Or not. Thanks for sticking out until the end, I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video also because I'm still missing out the actual mod gameplay with the reworked TVHM. I haven't played much of it yet, but it looks promising at the moment.